So this is one of my go-to places, one of my happy place. Pretty sad that the cemetery is one of my happy place, but it's my mom's grave and it's very peaceful here. The reason why the cemetery is one of the places in the world that has the most flowers is because everybody lives. This is all guilt and regret. We come bringing things, offerings and flowers to make amends or to feel better about how things were left unsaid or how we mistreated our loved ones when they were alive. It's all regret, guilt and regret. But keep it simple. This is one of the daily meditations for 12-step beginnings and renewal. January 17. Let's see what today's reading's about. When all else fails, read the instruction. Agnes Allen. The instructions for recovery are in our 12-step program. Yet there are times when we feel our program isn't working. At these times, we need to read the instructions. Have you followed the instructions? The wise words found in the big book. The 12 and 12 and other recovery literature. When we do, we recover. It's hard at times and easy at others. Our problems go deeper than just staying sober. No matter what our problems, our program can help us start fixing them if we follow the instructions. Don't use alcohol or other drugs. Go to meetings. Talk often with sponsors and program friends. Work the steps. Think. Easy does it. First things first. Listen. Let go and let God. One day at a time. Prayer for the day. Higher power, tell me which instructions to read today. If I'm headed for trouble, help me out. Today's action. I'll read the instructions today. Being Chamorro, it's not stereotyping, but you measure once, cut twice, or we don't read the instructions. We think that it's self-explanatory. We do things trial by fire, trial by error, but I guess that's what gets us in trouble. We don't take the time to read the instructions. It's worse when you read the instructions and you don't follow it. That's me, guilty. I can read the instructions and I have a hard time following it. I somehow think that I can shortcut or find a faster way. I'm very impatient, so I try to, my mom, trunky trunk. I just try to skip through things, bypass everything, and get things done my way, or try and find ways even though it's not the proper way. And I guess that's what makes me impulsive and impatient, and that's what gets me in trouble. And I lack structure. I learned that in rehab. I don't have a daily routine. I'm like with the wind. Doesn't help that I'm doubly mYrna, so whichever way the wind blows, I go. But I'm taking it one step at a time. Easy does it. And when I'm overwhelmed, I turn it over to God. I'm trying to work the steps. Coming back to Tinyin, there's not much community assistance, or I don't have any meetings to go to. So I go to church, and now I'm like going to the PTSA. I'm just trying to commit my time to group things just to keep me busy and to try and have like some kind of order and structure in my life, because if I don't have that, then I might revert back to my old ways. And God knows, and I know, my soul knows that I can't go back down that path again. I thought I was a good active addict. I thought I was a functioning addict. I thought as long as I didn't steal, as long as I didn't cheat, as long as I didn't like hustle people, as long as I didn't sell myself, that I was still okay and I was still in the right. But I may have kept my integrity, but I lost other things along the way. And I'm glad I sought help. And even though I didn't see the program, what STAR offered all the way through, initially I was going in for 40 days, and what my brother said was like, "Oh, a day, you think you're Noah? Don't tell me you're gonna start getting two pairs of each animal and whatever." But it actually took 60 days when I was in there. On the 30th day, something clicked in me. I had this innate feeling that I just didn't want to go back to that way. I didn't want to go back to my old ways. And that there was more to life. But recovery is a lifelong journey. It's something that you have to be committed to, and commitment is an issue for me. But I'm trying. And I'm working the steps, and I'm working at it. And if I ever falter, if I backslide, I know I'll get right back up. But what Hope or SAR has given me was a deeper understanding of why I used. And now that I understand why, when I have those internal triggers or situations arise where I usually like jump to look for that thing to numb myself, instead I process my emotions. Instead of hiding behind substances to not feel my emotions, I've learned to take it in, absorb it, and process it, ask myself why I feel that way, and try to come to an understanding. And I realized that I'm not my emotions. Emotions are temporary. So why am I going to keep destroying myself for something that I can get over in like 30 minutes if I just allow myself to feel it? And being vulnerable is never really easy. They teach you not to cry. They teach you, growing up, they try to toughen you up, and they make it seem like it's wrong to be emotional or sensitive. But that's what makes us that's what makes us addicted to things, just to mask our emotions, to mask our thoughts, to hide who we really are, when we're all very unique and special beings. God created us all in a certain way, perfectly imperfect, however you want to consider yourself, but we gotta have to start embracing who we are, because that's what makes life magical. And that's why God created us with all each distinctive, different personality and characteristics, because each of us has something to give each other. We all have a purpose, and in our journey, finding out who we are allows us to fulfill our purpose. And that way, we can all help uplift each other. This is In God's Care. It's another daily meditation on spirituality and recovery. January 17. I will radiate love and goodwill to others, that I may open a channel for God's love to come to all. Paramahansa, uh, Paramanaha, Paramahansa Yogananda. Yeah, tongue twister. Our spiritual well-being is hindered whenever we isolate ourselves, whenever we withhold our care and attention from the group or a friend. During these moments, our self-centeredness cuts off our connection to our higher power, causing peace to elude us and fear to set in. The converse is also true. Whenever we selflessly express love and genuine concern for others, we can know the presence of God and can be accelerated by that knowledge. In this, we have freedom. No one else controls our thoughts or our decisions to give unconditional love and genuine attention to others. We are in charge. It is up to us to keep the channel to our higher power always open, always freely flowing. Our spiritual health is our responsibility, and it's an easy one to handle. The only requirement is that we offer love and goodwill to others. I will enhance my spiritual health today by focusing my love on the women and men on my path, so that I may feel God's presence. It is the most rewarding thing. It's when you do good for others selflessly, not for moral desert. Like, I grew up always thinking, if I do good unto others because God is watching, then it's gonna come back to me. It was always because I expected it to come back. That expectation of being paid back. So it like I always I had like I felt obligated, and I started to resent helping people, and I always counted on like getting help back. As I got older, I realized that when I helped people, like strangers that I didn't know, and out of like not expecting anything back, but helping them because I saw that they were in trouble, and or just because I felt bad for them, and I just couldn't. I knew I could do something about it, so I did something about it. Man, it was the most rewarding feeling. Like, I would cry. I would, like, after I'm done like helping somebody, if I get back into my car, I'm sitting in there and I'm crying like mucus and everything, and I'm like crying tears of like this amazing feeling just washes over me, and it just feels so good. Even though I know I'm never going to see that person ever again, but just to know that I helped them in some way, it felt good. It felt right. And then it became like I got addicted to that feeling. It felt like a rush, so I always wanted that high. So there was times in Guam where I would try and help people even though they didn't want to be helped. And that would cause issues. But And sometimes people would think that I was gonna rob them because I was running to go help them with their groceries or to open the door for them, and they would hold onto their bag, and or I would like offer somebody like food and they would say they're not hungry, or they would say, what, just because I look like this, they took it to offense. But I learned how to like stop going and looking for for people to help random people, because it just bit me in the ass. And when the time is right, it just happens. When you don't force things, when you allow things to flow, divine timing. Okay, one more book and then we'll we'll end the reading. I don't have NA here, so I guess this is like somewhat of like my NA and my addicts vlog. Recovering addict, recovering cross addict. I learned that every time I dropped a habit, I picked up another one real fast and as hard as the next. And that was addiction, was my addiction. I was always looking for something to take my mind and my emotions away from my reality. And that's why when I found meditation, I would seclude myself and isolate myself, and just I got a high from meditating also, because it was like another escape from my life, from things I didn't want to face. And oh my gosh, when I went to rehab, I would go crazy because we couldn't leave, and the weekends we didn't have classes. I didn't have anything to like keep me busy, and I would like give everybody a hard time. I couldn't keep still. I would like nag and rant and like do crazy things that even I was like freaking out at. But that was because when I finally allowed myself to be still and calm and ask myself, why was I feeling that way? I realized it was because then I would have to face myself, face my past, face my reality. I would have to come to terms with who I am and what I've done and the state and situation I was in. And I realized I couldn't run from myself anymore. I always moved from island to island because I was always running away from either bad relationships or things. I just would up and leave. And being in there in SAR and the Hope Recovery Center, I couldn't run. I couldn't run away from myself. So I had to face myself, and it was a good thing. It was eye-opening. It was so crushing, but it was reviving, like a revival for me. When you have those those epiphanies, but when you have like a real big one, like life-changing epiphanies. January 17th, forgiveness. As we realize our need to be forgiven, we tend to be more forgiving. At least we know that we are no longer intentionally making life miserable for people. In our addiction, we often treated others badly, sometimes deliberately finding ways to make their lives miserable. In our recovery, we may still have a tendency to pass judgment on others' actions because we think we know how that person should behave. But as we progress in our recovery, we often find that to accept ourselves, we must accept those around us. It may be difficult to watch as someone's insanity manifests itself, but if we detach ourselves from the problem, we can start living in the solution. If we feel affected by another's actions, we can extend the principle of forgiveness. Just for today, I will strive to forgive rather than be forgiven. I will try to act in such a way that I feel worthy of self love. I was just talking about my experience at Hope, and this is like what it was. I had to come to terms with my choices, my actions, my past, and what I've done to people. I had to forgive myself. I had to learn how to forgive myself to truly forgive others. And when that happened, I was able to be around people who the old me wouldn't be able to stand, or they would always ask me, how come we've never seen you, or how come we've never heard of you? And I would say, because I was a smart user. No, because I always tried to tell myself, I'm not going to be like those people that do this and this and that. And like I said, I thought I was better. I thought I was a good user. I thought I was a good addict. And on some level, I thought I was better than others. I was so judgmental. I was just mental. And being in a recovery center with people from all walks of life and who've gone through a lot of hardship, and being able to share our trials and our past and our journey and our hopes and our future really opened me in another way. Like, I've always thought I was a good person, or I tried to live by the way my mom and my dad taught us to be, like giving, and but there was always something inside of me that always felt a little like like I guess I felt obligated. I felt like it started becoming a responsibility to be good and be giving and be caring and be, and I would turn around and throw myself like a pity party, or like victimize myself, be the victim. But when I was in there, I saw how blessed. I would always say I'm grateful and I'm blessed, but truly saw how blessed and protected and guided I was, and the amazing family that I've had, that I thought, when I was in my active days, I always felt like they didn't love me, they didn't care, they didn't understand me. I victimized myself. I pushed myself away from them. But like, Hope really gave me a different perspective of my life and of who I am. And the people in there are amazing. The staff, my peers. It took me a while. When I came back, I kind of like was overwhelmed with everything that I had to, like, I felt like I had to tackle and get everything. And I still had people that would reach out to me to see if I was okay. And I started going through like a depressing depression. I started going through a depression. I started feeling ugly again. I started feeling hopeless. I started feeling lonely. I started having all those internal triggers that normally would lead me to use. And I felt alone. But then I realized that I was the one keeping myself away from everybody. I was keeping myself away from everybody because I said, okay, I have to change my circle. I have to cut the people, whatever. And then I thought to myself, this is Tinian. Everybody's addicted to something. It's either gambling, beer, weed, meth, shopping, gossip, whatever, like work. Everybody has they're all some kind of holic. And it's you're a workaholic, a shopaholic, an alcoholic. It's it's insane because holic, we're just trying to find something to make us whole. So we're looking for that. It's we all have like this emptiness, this void. And I'm really afraid to like get back out there and mingle and start like, you know, associating like for a long period of time. So that's why I've chose church and school, because there's no alcohol involved or no, you know. And I'm really afraid, like my biggest fear is that I'm gonna do harm reduction, go from like my choice of drug to back to beer or alcohol. And I was not a fun, I mean, I was a fun alcoholic to people, but I didn't like myself. I was more out of hand as an alcoholic than I was as um a meth user. And I'm afraid that I'm gonna go back to drinking, thinking that it's better than smoking meth and smoking weed, and then it's gonna just start all the whole cycle is gonna start all over again. You know, one is too many, and 1,000 is never enough. And when we try to substitute one drug for another, for alcohol, or one addiction for another, it's just us continuing that cycle, that illness. Because um I heard, I mean, I've learned that addiction is a mental illness. So can I get SSI for this? Because I'm like a hardcore cross addict now. I think I'm gonna try and make God my addiction. No. See, even that is, it's gonna be wrong if I do that. If I just start turning to God and become like I've always believed, and I've always shared my view, and I respect everybody else's belief, but Tim's calling. I gotta go. I guess I gotta cut this short. Bye.